because I want to hear the audience.
Chair of the Constitution Committee, together with Ella.
To Ms. Ella Andel.
It is my honor and privilege to say welcome to our distinguished guest, His Royal Majesty Yasantini of the Ashanti Kingdom. We here in Trinidad and Tobago, Africans we are, of African descent, we cannot deny. We have always been missing something. And today is the highlight of a mental, spiritual, and physical journey to date. I was raised in Tobago by my grandparents, and I had a grandfather who worked every day except Sunday, when he became a Seventh-day Adventist. But there was one day in the year that he never worked. It was the only day he would get up from bed and say, today I will not do work, I will celebrate August Day. As a child, I thought he was just taking a day off. But as I got to learn more and more of our history, I realized that this old man who was raising me was honoring ancestors we never knew, who were hidden from us, and an ancestry which was very much buried. 1st of August was the day he recognized as his own personal holiday. He passed away in 1974. Never saw the next step that we made, where later on, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, led by a party, led by a historian, decided on encouragement to declare this day, the 1st of August, Emancipation Day. Ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate, let us acknowledge, and let us go forward. But under the hands of that historian, Dr. Eric Williams, it appears as though we were always reaching out for Africa, it being far away, but he knew it was there. In the 60s, we had royalty from Africa. The Emperor Haile Selassie visited us, and we got to know that Africa did have an emperor, did have an empire. The Italians didn't want to accept that. The world didn't want to accept it, but Africa knew it. Then came prime ministers, presidents. We had the visit of Lieutenant Jerry Rawlins. He visited us at Emancipation time. And Goodluck Jonathan, he also visited. But this is the first time that we are having a visit of a blood relative, royal blood relative from West Africa, which has a connection to us here in Trinidad and Tobago. So visitors and visitors all, this visit is different because it's a welcome home to us and a welcome to us to Africa from family. This is a family gathering taking place at Emancipation time in Trinidad and Tobago. We could spend time reciting and repeating what happened to our ancestors. We need to know that because there are others who don't care. I could tell you at the level of CARICOM, there's a committee to advance the cause of reparation, to educate those who claim not to know and who claim not to have any responsibility for the African cultural Holocaust. But I was in Barbados when the now King Charles joined the gathering in Barbados, when Barbados broke the chain and became a republic. We did that in 1976, because with independence in 1962, we still had a colonial master, so said, as our head of state. But in 1976, we decided to break that chain, to loosen those bonds, and to take responsibility for ourselves. So today, we are the independent Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So when Barbados followed many years later, I was there representing the people of Trinidad and Tobago in my capacity as Prime Minister. And I observed and I listened British royalty attempting to apologize or accept responsibility for that piece of history. So I took the opportunity when I got back to Trinidad to write to the now King and then Prime Minister, the two leaders in Britain, pointing out to them that we in CARICOM, we in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a conversation on reparation, and since that statement was made in Barbados by the King, who was then the Prince, it was a good time to take on board the conversations of responsibility and reparation. Signed, Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And just to tell you where we are in this world, who we are in this world, I could tell you now, it must be the only time in the history of the British Commonwealth that a letter would have come from a Prime Minister to Buckingham Palace and to number 10 Downing Street and never got a response. Never got the courtesy of a reply because I raised African emancipation and reparation with those who believe that it was their birthright and we were entitled to be enslaved. But today, as we celebrate in Trinidad and Tobago, in the presence of an African king, whether they reply or they don't reply, we will move onward and upward in freedom as free black people wherever we are, anywhere in this world. So it's on that score that I will pass the floor to our king, the Ashanti king, royalty from the kingdom of Ashanti in Delta, Ghana. Let us give him a rousing Trinidad and
Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Beloved sons and daughters of Trinidad and Tobago, we bring you loyal greetings from your brethren across the ocean in the Asante Kingdom, within the Republic of Ghana. The chiefs and people of Asante, one of the surviving kingdoms of Africa, wish you joy on this momentous day and prosperity in all the years to come. Let me express our sincere thanks to the Prime Minister for his gracious invitation to be your guest of honor at this year's Emancipation Day. It has enabled us to embark on a journey, indeed a pilgrimage, of the most profound significance as the heirs of a proud kingdom stretching several centuries back on a continent scarred by the demons of history.
So,
we come with a heart heavy with the pain and anguish of a history smeared in the blood and tears of our tortured sons and daughters, extracted from their homes into slavery to be bestialized and brutalized in foreign lands.
so,
And yet, this heart is also pumped up with pride in the valor, resilience, and indomitable spirit of the African soul.
so,
We come with a heart of sorrow for wars that can never be measured, but also filled with faith, abiding faith in the ultimate triumph of the African soul and the power of reconciliation and renewal.
so,
Embedded in our culture is an obligation to honor our dead, to draw inspiration from their lives and to celebrate our heroes. Trinidad and Tobago deserves all the honor as the first nation to commemorate Emancipation Day as a national holiday.
so,
And particularly for giving it the international dimension it has assumed. Our presence here affords us the opportunity to perform a historic duty to pay homage to the 20 million sons and daughters of Africa who were the victims of the transatlantic slave trade.
so,
Without doubt, the most cruel enterprise in human history.
so,
To salute the valiant heroes and martyrs who through 2 harrowing centuries mounted courageous resistance against the enslavement to try and break free from the chains of bondage.
so,
We salute the brave men and women of all races and persuasions who stepped forth to lead the anti-slavery movement, whose trenchant struggles paved the way to the historic emancipation of August 1st, 1834.
so,
And yes, we also salute the heroes in the post-emancipation epoch. Marcus Garvey, Dr. W.B. Du Bois, Dr. Martin Luther King, the radical Trinidadian intellect George Padmore, C.L.R. James, whose intellectual and philosophical ideas fanned the flames of Pan-Africanism and inspired leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, and Nelson Mandela to pursue the political emancipation of the continent of Africa from the yoke of colonialism.
so,
The Emancipation Act, passed by the British government granting the slaves freedom from bondage, entered into force on August 1st, 1834. It set the momentum for the European countries and the United States, but decades of intense struggle lay ahead before the consolidation of the process.
so,
But while the slaves from Africa were at least nominally free from bondage in the lands of former toil, the continent were at least from which they were extracted remained under colonial subjugation.
so,
It was not until 130 years after the emancipation of African slaves that both the mother continent of Africa and the countries of the Caribbean, where they were now domiciled, could gain independence
so,
from the colonial masters, beginning with Ghana in 1957, and even then from the continent as well as the diaspora, we continue to ponder what emancipation.
so,
What emancipation when every government in Africa is still struggling against severe odds to lift their people from grinding poverty? What emancipation when we still are obliged to look up to our former colonial masters for support and survival? And what emancipation when the descendants of the emancipated slaves still cannot walk the streets of the greatest nations on earth, free from fear for their lives? What emancipation for George Floyd, Steve Lawrence, Fafona, and the endless line of our descendants who have fallen to the feet of racial bigotry across Europe and the United States? And what emancipation when even our sportsmen cannot perform without confronting the taunts and hate of mobs because of who they are? We have come to share with you the joy and mirth of the moment, to showcase the enthralling culture that defines us and to bear testimony to the fact that beyond the walls of history and the oceans that seek to separate us, we remain and ever will be one people with one common destiny. It is in that spirit that we also recognize the need to go beyond the mirth of the moment to try to understand the essence of emancipation and the challenges it poses to every descent in the diaspora. Giving people the freedom to wallow in poverty cannot be true emancipation. Nor can it be when the emancipated souls are thrust onto an environment hostile with racial discrimination and injustice. The tribulations facing our governments in Africa, Caribbean, and Latin America, as they struggle to lift our people from grinding poverty and the racial discrimination our people continue to endure worldwide, not only determine our emancipation, but now pose a mortal danger to our humanity. I believe, therefore, that over 180 years after the Emancipation Act, it is time for a universal effort to give meaning to emancipation, and I invite our leaders to pursue the proclamation of a new universal declaration against racial discrimination, which will have, among its elements, the elevation of racial discrimination into a crime against humanity. Secondly, I invite our governments to pay attention to the education of our youth about our common heritage, the history of our glorious past through the millennia of great empires that ruled in the world long before the onset of European civilization, and the intrinsic values that have shaped us as a people and have survived through all the storms of the past. We need this to debunk the obnoxious narratives that have infected us with a deficiency complex over the years and reconnect us with the wisdom and true hardy substance from which our forefathers sprang. Beloved Trinidadians, beloved gems of African heritage, destined by circumstance to glow in the soil of the Caribbean Isles, I ask with deep solemnity for a period of introspection, for each one of us to ask himself or herself, what am I doing? What am I doing for my country, for my community, my family, and myself? No nation is built by magic or by stealth. Nations are built by the sweat and labor of the people. 2 centuries ago, your forefathers were cruelly extracted from their homes and brutally compelled to exert their labor to serve and create wealth for others. Today you have the opportunity to freely build a nation of your own, to create wealth for yourselves, and to live the happy lives your forefathers were denied. What, I ask, could be more glorious than this? I'm not unmindful of the complexities of the African condition reflected in stark terms by the psychological damage and attendant moral afflictions from which generations of Africans are still smarting. The resultant imbalance has led to attitudes that should be understandable from the perspective of a psychologist, but we should not simply surrender to its ills. We should accept it is a historic challenge to strive to eliminate the scars of the past and boldly create new conditions for the wealth and well-being of our families and our nations. That is why I wish to address the need for re-education as a key to redemption and call on scholars, writers, and indeed to the educational establishment of African heritage to launch a united effort for the preparation of the material for use at all levels to tell the true African story to this incoming generations. This does not mean we have to wait until we have cleared all the debris of the past before our future can be secured. We have a problem today that we dare not ignore. The new transatlantic debt trade has erupted in a continent of Africa, involving the grotesque, heartbreaking spectacle of our most able-bodied young people, paying people to lead them to their death. Men and women, many of them of higher education, are making perilous journeys in search of greener pastures in the lands where our forefathers were forced into slavery. Here in Trinidad and in other sister islands of the Caribbean, we have the unfortunate upset of needless violence, often fueled by drugs. I cannot pretend to know all the reason or to have answer, but I'm sure it reflects a degree of despair that has the potential to set our nations further back. And I also know one thing: giving in to despair does not reflect the African. As king of a mighty warrior kingdom, I can assure you that the African spirit does not cower under adversity. If it were not so, we would have been wiped out of the face of the earth as a race long before our time. Africa has been proven to be the cradle of the human race. It was from the shores and forests of Africa that humans first drifted to lands now known as Asia, Europe, and Americas. That being the fact, can we not say with pride that our great-great-great-grandmother, mine as well as yours, is truly the mother and the midwife of the human race?
No.
Yes, we can.
No.
Yes, we can.
No.
So why should we allow others to steal our pride, ossify our true heritage, and leave us in despair? The true African spirit is to stand up and yell, "Ne desperandum."
No.
We should, beloved Trinidadians, we must resist the temptation to be defined by drugs and needless violence, by slothfulness and wanton indiscipline. The Asante Kingdom has survived through 4 centuries because of the fidelity of the people to the Goldings and their king. Their discipline and hard work, these are the qualities we cherish from our stock. Fortunately, we do not even have to look far into history for inspiration. There are enough heroes and heroines in the pantheon of greatness to inspire every child in Trinidad to dream and go for it. We must resolve to be defined by the sporting prowess of Muhammad Ali, Nascimento Pele, Brian Lara, Kobe Bryant, Usain Bolt, Serena Williams, and Wilma Rudolph. We must be defined by the music of such immortals as Louis Armstrong, Bob Marley, Nat King Cole, Aretha Franklin, Mariam Makeba. And yes, we must be defined by the heights by which great men reached and kept. Great men of our kith and kin like Barack Obama, General Colin Powell, Busumru Kofi Annan, and Ngozi Okonjo. Some of the greatest leaders of the modern world, whose record of leadership in the highest global level stand tall against any measure. And I dare add, there is enough quality closer home to counter any negativity, to dispel any despair. George Padmore was among the first to critically analyze how colonialism was despoiling Africa extracting his wealth to enrich the colonial master. His book, Africa, Britain's Third Empire, was promptly banned by the colonial government, but Padmore's vigorous advocacy of the Pan-African ideal was that what sharpened African students in London, like Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, and Joe Appiah, immersed them in the Pan-African vision which prepared them to return to lead the revolution for the emancipation of Africa from colonialism. Padmore joined his friend Nkrumah on the achievement of independence in Ghana and ran Nkrumah's African Affairs Secretariat, which was responsible for supporting liberation movements across Africa. He died a citizen of Ghana and stands as a symbol of Ghana-Trinidad oneness. Your first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, was another close friend of Nkrumah whose insight in economic affairs remains undiminished, and I recall another distinguished Trinidadian son, Philip Cross, who served as senior legal counsel. It is patently clear that Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago share one destiny, a common destiny fortified by the blood of our sons and daughters and driven by the high vision of our leaders. We have no choice but to join hands together, work together, think together, plan together, pool all our resources together to lift our countries out of the distress of the moment into the prosperity of that is their destiny. As we herald the heroes from whose exploits on the global stage we draw inspiration, we see worrying gaps on the pantheon. Where are the mighty titans of business who are shaping the global today? Where are we in the laboratories from which scientific discoveries are shaping mankind? Where are we in the digital world? The fortunes of nations and individuals are being transformed daily by new technology, and the prospects of artificial intelligence taking control of the global economy looms large. But where are we in the race? You have heard over again about the scourge of climate change. I am sure you have not just heard, but have experienced the devastating effect. In Ghana, the forest from which the Asante Kingdom drew its strength and wealth is depleted. The combined effects of insufferable droughts and raging floods threaten the very existence of mankind, and we are the main victims. We can either face the challenge or surrender to its consequences. There can be no question that to face the challenge with fortitude is a task for every citizen. Our businessmen need to step forward to explore the myriad of opportunities in the new economy, the green economy, to create wealth for themselves, create jobs for the people, and together create wealth for the nation. In the face of these challenges and consequential opportunities, there should be no reason for despair, and most certainly no reason for any recourse to wanton acts of violence, indiscipline, or inter-ethnic strife. We all belong together. 3 years ago, I had the honor of hosting the Prime Minister in my palace in Kumasi when he visited Ghana as the guest of honor at the celebration of Ghana's Independence Day. We had the opportunity for very fruitful discussions and to share ideas on wide-ranging issues. We have followed the affairs of your sister state closely since then. From all our observations, there's no reason for us to doubt that, every reason to be confident that beloved Trinidad and Tobago is in safe hands and pointing in the right trajectory. We see every prospect of building a prosperous state which can be a model of inclusivity and the racial harmony the world so desperately needed today. But as the people need good leaders, so good leaders need loyal people to help deliver success. So in the spirit of your great ancestors, whose heritage has been bequeathed to us, I ask you, beloved sons and daughters of Trinidad and Tobago, valiant sons and daughters of the heroes whose resilience broke down the chains of slavery, let us rise above and abolish notions of despair, cast into the fire temptations to meaningless violence, and any habit calculated to undermine the peace and stability of the state. Remember, this is hope, your hope. It is yours to build and yours to save. Home is where the honor is, and honor only grows in the soil of peace. As I return to my peaceful abode in Kumasi, Ghana, I hope one day in the future I can hear someone say, we heard a voice from the Asante forest, we listened and we found peace. And with peace came accelerated development and prosperity. God bless Trinidad and Tobago. God bless the brotherhood of Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana. May we together find everlasting prosperity for this and generations to come. Thank you and enjoy glorious Emancipation Day. Thank you.
Yeah.